All right, guys, good morning. Happy Saturday to every single one of you guys. Welcome to the encore edition to No More College Funds. This is something that I'm sure you know by now. It's something that I'm very, very excited about. And it's something that I've been really, we've been putting a lot of attention on as a company over the last few weeks. But this is obviously been a passion of mine for many years. So I want to make sure that every single one of you guys understand the importance of the message this morning. I am going to try to get through this entire presentation in the next 60 minutes, depending on your questions. And I'm sure I will, because on Thursday, obviously we had a lot more people than the amount of people we have today, and we were able to get through the 60-minute presentation in 60 minutes. Before I start, you guys all know by now that we tragically lost a member of our family a few days ago. Dolly Anand, unfortunately, was struck by a car walking in La Cañada, and we're just at a loss of words. We're feeling the pain. I can just imagine what her twin boys are feeling, her husband's feeling, her daughter, 13-year-old daughter, is feeling. And if you don't mind, again, I'd like to take a moment of silence. And just every single ounce of energy that you guys have, please just do me a favor, and for the next 60 seconds, just pray that her family, her husband, and her children, and every single member of her family finds power to withstand the pain. So I'd like to take the next 60 seconds and just bow our heads and take a moment of silence, and just, like I said, pray to God that her family has the power just to withstand the pain, because it's not going to ever get better. But if we can just collectively come together, I'd really appreciate it. 60 seconds, please. All right, guys, I really appreciate that. Like I said, I just can't imagine the pain that her family is going through right now. Being a father of three, I just can't imagine it. All right, so obviously this morning, the message is pretty clear. I'm sure you know by now why we're so excited about sharing all this information with everybody that needs to hear it. This is a crisis that has no solution. This is something that I personally have been paying a lot of attention to over the years. And a few years ago, I made a decision right around 2007, 2008, when I personally lost a lot of money, and along with everybody else in the stock market. I told myself I would never in my life ever invest in anything that I can't control, that I don't have control of, right? And in 2009, 2010, I made a decision that even though I want to make sure that I set my kids up for success, I didn't feel like what we had, the options that we had in front of us were the best of options. And me being a real estate guy, I made a decision, and that decision was to purchase at least one property for each and every single one of my children, right? So when Chloe was born, I made a decision to purchase a piece of property for her, and same with Michael, and same with Milan. And I'm here to tell you guys today, and I'm hoping that every single one of you guys are really going to focus and zone in on the presentation that we've prepared. And I'm here to tell you guys that it's easier than you might think it is. And I know that some of the things that I'm going to go over, you guys might not think that it applies to you. And I promise you this, we've made it at John Hart, agents, staff, everybody, we've made it our mission to really educate the few that are interested in listening to what we have to say, and more importantly, understanding what the steps are that need to be taken in order for you to think long-term, right? One of the things that we've realized and we've noticed is many parents look for the short-term fixes, and that's why we're in the crisis we are in today. And I promise you this crisis is not getting any better. And I'm going to explain step by step. I'm going to start with the facts, why it's so alarming. And I'm going to give you guys examples. I'm going to give you the solution. Then I'm going to tell you what we're going to do about it. All right. First things first, however, I want to make sure that I say thank you to a couple people, actually 3 people that have really helped us with bringing people on board. And then also want to thank the guys who helped me put this presentation together. Actually, they put the presentation together. Janae, Jack, Tim, Mike, Lindsay, appreciate the hell out of you guys for doing what you're doing, and really helped me put this message out there so eloquently. So thank you guys. I know that we've got a couple of guys here that are really going to help us spread the word. Ciamanto from New York Life, appreciate you, man. I know that you have been spreading the word, and I'm going to ask you to do it even more for over the next 12 months. We're going to consider this a mission of ours to spread the word to everybody that needs to hear it. Mike from Golden Coast Finance, you're really going to help make sure it makes things get easier. And I know that you and I think Tom Foley is online with us today from Partners Bank, Mike Chambers from Partners Bank. These guys are really going to help us make things easier, right? We're going to tear down any walls that are standing in front of us to invest and to put our kids in a much better situation, put them in a much better place of wealth than they ever thought was possible. So you got to do me a favor. And once I'm done with this, you've got to take it personally and make sure you reach out to them. They'll be reaching out to you to make sure that you guys understand and further of what we're trying to accomplish here. So what I'm going to do right now is share a presentation. I'm going to allow you guys to ask questions. We're a smaller group of people, so I'll be able to address questions during the presentation as well. A few times I'll be stopping the presentation to take any of your questions, but if you got a question, put it in the chat. And then if you want to have a conversation about, or further conversation, if you think that I didn't explain something properly or the question I didn't answer right, do me a favor and raise your hand, and I'll take you off of mute. And we'll have a conversation. I'm sure that any question that I'm going to be asked today is a question that is on everyone's mind. Okay, so definitely take yourself off. I'll take you off of mute, and I'll make sure that I answer your question. All right. So here goes the presentation. I'm going to put it now on full screen. On Thursday, I hadn't put it on full screen, but this one I will. Hovik, do me a favor, give me a thumbs up if you can see my presentation. All right, good. Okay, first things first, Tim, our general counsel here at John Hart, would not allow me to explain this entire thing without the disclaimer. Disclaimer is written right here at the very, very bottom. It says the information in this presentation is for educational purposes only. John Hart is not explicitly or implicitly providing tax, legal, or investment advice. If you have tax or legal questions, please contact the appropriate professional. I'm not an attorney. I am not an accountant. I am not a financial advisor. I just play all three on the internet. So definitely make sure that if you guys have any legal, tax, or financial questions, contact those professionals. But I promise you this, experience speak volume, and a lot of the information I'm going to share with you guys this morning is tried and tested. Okay, this is not something that I haven't tried myself. I haven't practiced myself, and I haven't put my money where the advice I'm giving you is. So the entire mission of today's presentation and what we're going to be doing over the next 12 months is focused on you forgetting about putting money into college funds, because those college funds, if they worked, we wouldn't be in the crisis we are in today. One of the things that really prompted me to think about other alternatives and doing this at scale is when my daughter a couple of years ago, or about a year and a half ago, was enamored with watching social, right, YouTube, et cetera, and said, "Dad, I think I'm going to be a YouTuber," right? And then I looked at myself. I'm like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do about her future? What am I going to do when she's at the age of 18 and she's looking at her options? And option A is to go to college, and by that time, tuition will be about 3x more than it is today. And she's going to think about taking on debt, and then taking the path of least resistance, where it's taking a phone and taking a video of herself and posting it and thinking that because of her followers, she's going to make all the money in the world. Which option do you think she's going to take? So if us as parents don't take this seriously, our kids are going to become YouTubers and do that for a living and fail drastically, for the same exact reason why not every single person who plays basketball can become an NBA player and makes hundreds of millions of dollars. Not every single one of our children can take a phone and make money off of YouTube, Instagram, or whatever platform we're going to have over the next few years. Okay, so no more college funds. We've created a website for this. We are taking this very, very seriously, and it's something that I think that by the time I'm done today, you're going to be convinced that the message is actually one that you have to take very seriously. But before I start, I got to make sure that you understand the facts. Why is it that today we are in crisis? I got to give you guys the numbers to convince every single one of you guys that this is something that is extremely serious. So 28%, right? 28%, that's how much the undergraduate tuition, undergraduate, a 4-year degree, which in today's times, a 4-year undergraduate degree is like getting an elementary school education back in the day, right? It's not enough. But undergraduate tuition has gone up by 28% between 2008 and 2019. This is obviously adjusted for inflation, but over the last 11 years, tuition has increased by 28%. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. 28% over 11 years isn't that much, but if you really look at what's been going on over the last several years, you'll know that this is something that is going to not only be an issue, but it's going to get even worse. From 1989 to 2016, college costs have increased 8 times faster than wages have. Okay, so think about the dollar that you're making each and every single day. College costs have increased 8 times faster between 1989 and 2016. So definitely a number that is jumping out at us. That the student debt growth rate is outpacing the rise in tuition by 353%. What does that mean? That means for every single dollar in tuition that we're spending, or our kids are spending, 3.5 times more debt we're taking, right? So if your tuition dollar is about 100, we're taking out loans for about $350. Excuse me. The parent borrowing has tripled over the last 25 years. But what's more alarming is that the student borrowing has doubled over the last 25 years. Now, you might think that's not an issue, but if you think about the national debt, the national debt of our students and what the loans that we're taking, since 2003, in the last 18 years, 602.5%, we've raised our national student loan debt. 602.5% in the last 18 years. So if you got a newborn in 18 years, when he or she is ready to go to school, that's if we have another increase of another 602%, and why wouldn't we? We're not doing anything about it, then you're going to have a lot bigger problem, right? 602% since 2003 means that our current debt is $1.73 trillion. $1.73 trillion. Let me take a second to get you guys to really understand what that means. $1.73 trillion. In the last 18 years, we grew by 602%. So that means that in 2003, the debt was $288 billion. Today, it's $1.73 trillion. If we go exactly how we've been going, and why wouldn't we? In 18 years, that debt is going to be right around $11 trillion. $11 trillion. Think about that for a second. $11 trillion debt for our students, for us as parents. That's how much debt we're taking. But what's mind-boggling is that we're not doing anything about it. No, the government isn't coming out and saying this is enough. We've got to come up with other ways. These programs that we have in order for our kids and our parents to save for college is not working, right? So I really want you guys to think about what's going to happen over the next 18 years. I want you to think about your 3-year-old or your 5-year-old or your 10-year-old or even your 15-year-old. Because even if you have a 15, 16-year-old, it's not too late. And we're going to go over a few ways and a couple of examples that is going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. But for now, I really would like for every single one of you guys to actually understand what the trillion, this 1.73, trillion dollar debt actually means. So what is the solution? What can we do as parents, as investors, as adults, right? What are we going to do? Are we going to take the short term today, feel good about myself, take a couple of bucks out of my account thinking that I'm actually doing something about it? Are we going to continue investing in these 529 plans, right? And that's kind of the only answer. Thursday nights, one of the guys came up with another, I believe it's called a 7702. I've never heard of it. I really am not interested in any of these investment plans, because if they worked, our debt wouldn't go from 288 billion to 1.73 trillion dollars, right? But I looked into it. I believe it was an annuity that had so much in fees. The guys who are selling these annuities make more money than the parents that are saving and then putting money into it. So these 529 plans, investment plans, college fund plans, annuities, et cetera, they simply don't work. A 529 investment plan is not your best option. And it's not because I'm a real estate guy. It's not because of that. It's not because I believe in property ownership. I believe in creating wealth. It's not because I believe in equity. It's not because I believe in making sure that my properties appreciate. It's not because I believe in leverage. It's because I'm looking at the facts and I see exactly what's been going on. And I see that in 2003, we had $288 billion in debt. And today we're at 1.73 trillion. So it's not working. Right? A 529 plan requires periodic investments. Okay, great. It's something that I have to put $200, $300, $500, $1,000 a month that I'm going to be putting out of pocket. It's subject to market fluctuations, right? Think about this. In the last few years, how many publicly traded companies have gone belly up? How many publicly traded companies have gone bankrupt? A ton, hundreds of publicly traded companies have gone bankrupt. It is, I remember right back when the scandal Enron started, the money that we're giving them, that we have zero control over, they were taking and getting massages at the Ritz-Carlton. That's the kind of money, that's what these investors, or excuse me, these owners of these companies are doing with our kids' money, right? And lastly, it'll never be enough. It will never be enough. The money that you're putting into a kid's college fund will never be enough. And I plan to show you exactly what I mean by that. But at the end of the day, the recommended contribution amount for a 529 plan is approximately $200 to $300 a month. And the maximum, for those of you guys who are like, okay, I can put a lot more than that, the maximum that you can put into or can contribute in one of these funds is $30,000 if you're married. Obviously, if you're an individual, $15,000 a month. That's the money that you can put in without being taxed. But guess what? If your kid in a few years, because all you're doing is being passive with your investment, if your kid decides, you know what, Dad, you know what, Mom, I'm not going to go to college, then guess what you're gonna have to do with all that money? Pay tax on it, and it's a step up. Think about that. Think about all the taxes that you're going to have to be paying. And what I hate about it is there's no involvement, there's no control, there's no teaching your child about investment. So we know this to be true. The cost of education will only continue to rise, and rising inflation obviously is going to affect everything that you're doing. So instead of saving in a college fund, like I said, it's something that you don't have control over. Why not control your money? Why not make your money work for you? So investing in property to pay for college is my answer, right? Is my answer. It's my answer for my kids. And it's something that I have had a lot of success with, not because of appreciation, not because I've put myself and my kids and hopefully they're going to be doing the same exact thing and creating this generational wealth. It's not because of that. It's because I get to have these conversations with my children. I get to teach them from now. Think about you right now. Think about you as an adult. What if your father and your mother thought about putting money into property 18, 20, 25, 30, 40 years ago? Think about that. What if your father and your mother thought about begging, borrowing, stealing, putting together a group of friends and started to buy a building? Then that building became two. Because look, investment in real estate is like a drug that you can never, ever get over. Because once you buy your first, you're going to start buying one after another and after another. And for me, that means that I'm creating that discipline, not only for myself, but I'm teaching my child exactly what it takes in order to create generational wealth. So definitely, obviously, property management and investing in property to pay for college, in my opinion, is the answer. But I plan to show you why, right? I plan to show you that this plan is actually for you. If you want to set up your child for success, rather than putting them in a position of taking on debt and more debt once they graduate or once they graduate from high school, this plan is definitely for you. And I promise you this, for those of you guys who are going to roll your eyes over the next couple of few examples and couple of few slides and say, this doesn't apply for me. Even the guy who is making $20, $25, $30 an hour and is able to think beyond their paycheck is going to find success in our plan. And again, we plan to show every single person that wants to listen over the next 12 months of exactly what it is. I've personally made it my mission, and I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about it after this whole entire presentation, but I've personally made it my mission to make sure that each and every single one of you guys understand. And 50 of you in my circle and my family, right, whether it's the John Hart family, staff, agents, or beyond, are going to purchase property in 2022, and I'm going to help you with it. And I'm hoping that each and every single one of you guys are going to have a very, very similar mission, right? But again, I told you there's a lot of ancillary with my mission today, or my message today, right? And not the least of which is adopting that investor mindset. That investor mindset is the biggest win, in my opinion. That investor mindset, that mindset that you develop and your child develops. And when you buy a building or a condominium or that collecting of rent, you're teaching your child what is necessary in order for them to create long-term wealth. You're teaching your child that building equity is what is necessary. You're teaching your child what cash flow means and how to maximize cash flow. And last but not least, you're teaching your child how to control risk factors, because we all know in stocks and mutual funds, there's so much market volatility, fluctuations, a lot of risk factors. But I promise you this, in investment real estate, long term, when you look at the entire thing long term, there's absolutely zero risk, because everyone needs a place to live, and it's not getting any better, right? Properties are not land. We can't create more of it, and we don't have properties right now, as many properties as demand is giving us, right? So there is, in my opinion, again, and you've proved it, time has proved it, history has proved it, that there is absolutely zero risk when it comes to property ownership. So real estate property investing, in my opinion, is the college fund alternative, right? It is definitely something that I want to make sure that every single one of you guys understand what it means. We plan here at John Hart to show each and every single one of you guys exactly what it's going to take to invest in property. We plan to show you, like I said earlier, that anyone can do this, whether you're an affluent investor and you've got stocks and mutual funds and bonds and 401ks and IRAs, et cetera, or you're someone that is just starting out, just got your first job, just got out of school. We plan to show everyone that anyone can do this. And I want to make sure that I cover today why we think that property investing in property is the way to go. Building equity, I mentioned this earlier. Building equity is a big reason to why investing in property is the alternative, is the better alternative to investing in stocks. Conditions obviously are ripe, right? We increase equity, apartment vacancies are going down and will never ever go up. Cost of living obviously is high. That means that you're able to increase rents, and that inflation is going to keep going up, and as inflation goes up, obviously your rents are going to go up. Like I mentioned, it's low risk. You can manage the property with short-term leases. When you keep with inflation, rents, like I said, will increase, and the tenants are going to be paying not only for your expenses, but also for any kind of other funds that you want to create. It's a good idea to be diverse, to be fully diversified, as Jim Cramer always says, right? If you guys are thinking, or if you guys do have a current portfolio, if you got 401ks, you've got IRAs, you've got stocks, it's a good idea to diversify, even if you don't want to liquidate those assets and purchase property, which I would definitely recommend, especially right now with how high the stock market it has gone up, or how much it's gone up. It's definitely a better investment than stocks. A lot of positive attributes. It's tangible, it's insured, it's stable, it has long-term growth. But one thing that we keep missing on is that you can leverage. So think about stocks, for example. Can you leverage stocks? Maybe once, right? If you're going to take out a margin and borrow against your stocks, you can, but you can only borrow once. But with investment real estate, with property, you can, at the very least, if this is not an owner occupied, for example, if you're not house hacking, at the very least, you can go 5x. You can leverage, put 20% down, and then buy and then borrow the rest. So definitely better than stocks, because you can leverage up to 5 times. One of the biggest, in my opinion, is the side hustle. Right? Even if you're a wage earner right now, think about the amount of taxes that you are paying. Again, I'm not an accountant. I'm not giving you tax advice, but think about the amount of write-offs that you get when you own property. Right now, you're a wage earner. You don't have any write-offs at all whatsoever, right? You don't. You have nothing. But if you do have a corporation or something you created for your investment properties, every single step that you're taking, you can write off. Your dinners, you're traveling, you're going to wherever to look at property, the education, the shirt on your back, the gas, your car, every single thing that you do, you're able to write it off if you own investment real estate. And lastly, the cash flow. I'm going to show you guys today what you can do with that cash flow. And if you still are not convinced and you still want to put money in your 529, our system has your tenant paying for your college fund. The cash flow that you generate from your duplex, in the example I'm about to show you, is going to help pay or help fund or fund completely that 529 that you are so stuck on investing in. So we're going to show you how it works. Every single one of our agents at John Hart are well equipped. I'm well equipped. The staff's well equipped to help you. We're going to show you how it works. We're going to help you identify a property. We're going to help you project the income, right? We're going to make sure that you guys all understand exactly what the right property is, and then we're going to help you collect rent. We're going to handle it all for you, and we're going to handhold you through the entire process. Now, earlier I said I was going to give you an example, right? So we put together here an example of the Williams family, and they have their child, and we're going to call the child Casey, 3-year-old child, and they want to be able to send Casey to a great college in 15 years. Who would, right? As parents, we want to make sure that our kids get the proper education. In 15 years, knowing the cost of education is going to continue to rise, they need other options. They need to weigh their options. At the very least, I want them to consider other options, right? They don't want to rely on student loans because they don't want to burden their child with student loan debt. They don't want, and as much as we want our children to work and become responsible, et cetera, when my child is going to school, I want him to concentrate on their studies and not have to take another job, right? Or a job to pay for the things that they need to live, right? So I definitely want my child to be focused, right? So you don't want to rely on student loans. Yesterday or Thursday, Melissa was online, and she gave me an example of how she had to work 1-2 jobs in order for her to pay for her living expenses while taking out student loans that she just completed or she just paid off after 20 years after graduating college. We don't want our children to do that. They are now, this Williams family is considering going with a traditional route of a 529 savings plan, but also considering investing in property. I'm going to show you that the Williams family should help Casey with tuition by buying property. The Williams family, they're going to buy a duplex, a $500,000 duplex. They're going to put down 25%, right? And again, we're going to show you ways of how to put this $125,000 down. Even if I don't have that kind of money. Even if that's what you're saying to yourself, I don't have that kind of investment. We're going to show you so many ways of getting that $125,000. The obvious is cash out, refinance. So if you own property, you're going to be able to cash out on your property, tap into your equity with a credit line. If you've got a 401k, borrow against it. You can liquidate other personal property, but there's so many more options. One of the things that we're going to be doing today, and I'm going to announce it at the very end, is we're going to help you pool. We're going to help you put a couple of pieces together or a couple of people together, phone a friend, and have that friend help you with the down payment. So before you write me off and say, where the hell am I going to come up with $125,000? Are you nuts? Are you crazy? Give me a chance. Give me an opportunity to explain exactly how. But for those of you guys who own property, who own different types of assets, whether it's 401ks or stocks or whatever it is, you can borrow against it and without having to take out or suffer the consequences of taking or borrowing against it. Your monthly mortgage payment on a $500,000 duplex with today's rate, and today's rate is, I mean, it's not going to get lower than this, right? So 3.25% on a commercial loan or on a duplex, including taxes and insurance, is going to cost you $2,250 a month. Rent for the 2 units is going to be about $3,000 a month, which is equating to $36,000 a year. We're taking into consideration repairs and management costs, which is about $5,000 For those of you guys who think that there's no such thing as a $500,000 duplex, I promise you every single bit of information that I'm sharing with you, I've looked at myself first. So I ran a search in LA County and I found 227 duplexes currently for sale, active in LA County. We have other counties that are more affordable, but I wanted to use the example of $3,000 a month, $1,500 per unit. So I looked at what LA County duplexes are currently renting for, and I'm using this as an example. How much will they make from rent minus expenses in 15 years? Again, take into consideration all the expenses, including the mortgage and everything else. How much will the Williams family, as far as cash flow, will they create, right? So in year 1 to year about 4 or 5, let's say they're collecting $3,000 a month. Their annual income from rent is $36,000. They remove the $27,000 and they're going to pay in mortgage fees, subtract the maintenance, which is about $5,000, and they're going to have a cash flow in year 1 of $4,000. Remember what we said earlier about the 529? Remember how we said the 529 earlier? They recommend putting about $300 a month. Well, guess what? Now your tenant's going to pay for your 529 if you're stuck on funding that 529. That tenant is going to pay for your cash flow, but for your 529, excuse me. But my recommendation is never to invest the 529, because what I want you to do is I want you to consider putting that money aside, and once you get a couple of bucks saved, buy another property and keep doing this over and over again. Because look, in 15 years, you're going to have a total cash flow from this property, one property, of $218,517.75. Why? Because every year, as you can see from here in this example, you're going to raise the monthly rent by 5%. You're not going to be one of those guys that's just going to be passive about the rent that you collect. Every single year, you're going to increase your rent. So in year 5, your rent is going to be $3,646.52, because in year 2, if you increase your rent by 5%, your rent was $3,150, and so on and so forth. In year 5, $3,600. In year 10, $4,600. And year 15, $5,939. How much does your mortgage increase in 15 years? Zero. Nothing. You locked in your interest rate and your mortgage payment today, but your rent is not locked in. Every year you get to increase it anywhere between 3 and 10%, depending on the area that you purchase in. Now, what about appreciation? What about the A word? Appreciation, which I love in real estate. For a property that is $500,000 in Los Angeles. And again, guys, these are historical figures. I'm not just coming up with these percentages or percentage increases from nowhere. I'm coming up with this because I'm looking at the last 15 years. So I'm looking back to tell you the future. So in the last 15 years, we've had a growth of 5.55%. That's kind of average that's been the average for a while now. But in 15 years, that property, if it increases by 5.55%, you know how much it's going to be in 15 years? That $500,000 duplex. The value of that property is $1,256,733. Think about that. $1,256,733. Now, appreciation is something that we all know very much about. Every single one of us by now, we are 100% going to see appreciation with our properties, right? So I wanna read, Jeff, be mindful, however, of who you jointly own property with, regardless of accepted ROI. Poor considered partnership arrangements can negate any returns and even be more costly. Absolutely. So check this out, Jeff. And I really appreciate you saying that, because one thing I promise you, over the next few months, we're going to help you with this, right? So for those of you guys who are saying $125,000 is impossible for me to put together. Well, Jeff, I promise you this. I'm going to make it my personal mission
to get people, and I'm going to announce it at the end, but we're putting together these small dinners once a month. And we're going to help you guys connect with others. We're going to help you guys bring friends and family over. And we're going to talk to you guys. Again, this doesn't benefit us as much as it benefits you. You're going to pay for your child's tuition, or they're going to take out the debt. All I'm trying to do is like I said, I've made it my personal mission for that $1.73 trillion debt not to go up any further. And in my opinion, if we are able to spread the word and give this presentation and help you guys spread it to everybody else, even if they don't use us, they don't talk to us, I could not care less. All I want to see is all I want to make sure is that our kids get the proper education without having to take on debt. It's sad, man. It is sad. Right now, when you see what kids have to go through after they graduate college, where they can't even pay for rent because they have this tuition that they have to pay for, it's disgusting. So as long as you guys, all of you guys spread the word and give it to everybody else, I'm good with it. But Jeff, 100%, I agree with you 100%, because if you partner up with the wrong person, boy, oh boy, it'll backfire on you. So with our help, hopefully with your help, with everybody else's help, they will definitely 100% partner up with the right people. But going back to this example, thank you, Jeff, for going back to this example, $500,000 duplex in 15 years. So today, 2021, in 2036, that $500,000 duplex is the value of it is $1,256,000. Think about 15 years ago. Think about 2006, right? 2006, the property values in 2006. The 2007, 2008, 2009 disaster, the Great Recession, right? Think about how much in value we lost in property, and think about where we are today. So if we were able to increase in 15 years to the amounts that we are in today, what do you think is going to happen over the next 15 years? I think that the value of the $500,000 duplex in 2036 is going to be a lot higher than $1,256,733, because we have a rising population. More people are going to be moving here and requiring these properties from us. Now, $1,256,000 appreciation after 15 years, minus your mortgage balance, $232,261. Where did I get that figure from? Well, I took out a loan of $375,000. I called my friend Mike from Golden Coast Finance, and he partnered up with Partners Bank and Thomas and Mike Chambers and Mike Bandazos from Golden Coast Finance, put together a plan. They got you a loan at 3.25% interest rate of $375,000. And what they did was they put you in this great loan, and in 15 years you still owe $232,261. So if I take my appreciation after 15 years of $1,256,733 and I subtract 232, my total equity in 15 years is $1,024,472. That's equity in Casey's name, because again, I called my attorney and I said, you know what? I'd like to create a trust, and I want Casey as the beneficiary of this property. And now Casey in 2036 has a total mortgage or total equity of $1,024,472 in her name. So definitely something that you guys all should consider as far as equity goes and appreciation goes for real estate property. Now, the initial investment of $125,000. Remember that $125,000 that I told you guys about to invest when you're buying your real estate? Equity and cash after 15 years, $1,242,990. That's a 10x return. That's a 10 times return on investment, because that gain, remember what we talked about, that gain in equity, $1,024,000, plus that cash cash flow that we got over the last 15 years from the rent, $1,242,000. That's a 10x in return on investment. But again, you guys might say, you know what, that $125,000 is just way too much money for me to come up with. But I will tell you this, if that's the way you think, you're going to become part of the statistic. You're going to become part of that $11 trillion of debt that we're going to have between now and the next 18 years. So don't dismiss me just because that $125,000 is going to be difficult. Don't dismiss me because you think that that $125,000 right now is impossible to come up with. Let's get creative. How do we do it? Do I want to become that statistic? Do I want to become that person who's going to look at their child in about 15, 16 years and say, sorry, sweetheart, you're going to come up with the money to pay for college yourself. Or in 15 years, when I'm 65 years old, I'm going to have to take out a loan just to help my child pay for college. That's not an option I want you guys all to have to take. So definitely think about the $125,000 and think about ways of how to come up with it. We're going to help you guys get creative. You're already sitting on equity in your property. You're already sitting on equity in your primary residence. You can take out a line of credit. You have a 401k. You have your IRAs. You have all these different kinds of investments. You have friends and family that you can help facilitate all this with. So definitely not just roll your eyes and say, $125,000, are you crazy? That's no way I'm going to be able to come up with it. You'll become the statistic if that's the kind of mindset that you are going to have. This is a crisis. The student debt crisis is not going to get any better unless we actually do something about it. Now, for those of you guys who are the skeptics and say, you know what, those 529 plans aren't that bad. All right, let's run the numbers, right? Historically, on average, these portfolios are giving you anywhere between 2 to 15%, depending on the risk. Success and performance of any of these portfolios or any of these stocks is widely dependent on the type of stocks that you purchase. This means that when it's time to take your investment, there is a possibility that you are going to have less money than when you got in, when you came into these. So I want to show you guys here of exactly what these 529 savings plans will pay you. So if we take what the government says and consider a $300 a month investment, first month we put in $300 and every other month we contribute another $300. Estimated rate of return about 5%. We said between 2 and 15% on average. That's about 5%. If we compound that annually, our balance is $78,337 in 15 years. $78,337. You know what $78,337 gets you right now? How much $78,000 gets you right now as far as what type of college you're going to pay for as far as tuition goes? Have you guys ever heard of FIDM? FIDM, it's a Fashion Institute or whatever. It's an LA school. It's a private school in LA. In 4 years, tuition today, not 15 years from now, not 18 years from now, today, the tuition is $130,580 for a 4-year without room and board. Without room and board, without books, without food, without the expenses of living, nothing, $130,580. That means if you relied on your 529 plan, you would be short, Casey would be short $52,243. Even if the tuition didn't increase, okay? We're not going to increase the tuition. We're going to leave it exactly the way it is. We're going to go ahead and we're going to have a total of $52,000 negative. Crazy. So let's compare it side by side. Investor property, let's say you took what I'm saying into consideration. You look at it, you look exactly what I'm talking about. It's $218,517 for cash flow. Your equity is $1,024,472, right? So it's about $1,245,249 to $1,250 total. Compare that to a 529 college savings plan of $78,337, zero cash flow, zero equity. Now, for those of you guys who say, you know what, Arut? Well, you're not comparing apples to apples. You're not being fair. What if you're not saying that you're putting $125,000 into real estate, but you're not putting $525,000 into a 529 plan? There's no initial investment. So let's say you did. Let's say you dismiss the fact that you're going to pay all these taxes, et cetera, on your money, and you put that $125,000 directly into a 529 plan. How much do you get back? in 15 years, 5% compounded annually, that $125,000 will be right around $256,000. If you don't believe me, put that into a compound calculator on the internet. Look it up. 125 compounded annually at 5% will give you right around $256,000. So the comparison, there is none. This is ridiculous. $78,000 compared to 1.250. It's insane. The numbers are very, very clear. The Williams family invests in property. They'll have a lot more funds for Casey to go to college. And what I love most about all of this is these conversations that the Williams parents will have with Casey every single day, every single month, every single year. The conversations about rent, about collecting, about making sure that Casey understands what it takes to grow wealth and investing in real estate. It's crazy. So how do you get started? All you got to do right now, go to nomorecollegefunds.com. This is a website that we just started. We're going to expand on it. We're going to do a lot more stuff. But right now, go to nomorecollegefunds.com, put in your name, put in your information, and we'll set you up with a consult with one of our agents. And if you know one of our agents, all you got to do is click the drop down and select their name. So this way, you and one of our agents, if you want me invited as well, I'd be more than happy to. We'll sit down with you and we will figure out the plan that secures money for college and wealth and beyond. This is something that every single one of you guys have the opportunity. Plus, we're willing to put in $1,000 credit towards you purchasing your next property. Because we are convinced once you get hooked, you're going to do this over and over and over and over again. Investing in real estate is the only way, is the only option you've got. That's it. And it's not because I'm a real estate guy. It's because I look at the facts. I look at what's been going on over the last 25 years that I've been, or from 30 years I've been in this business. And I look at what investing in stocks means and what I did when I was investing in stocks and what I do now when I invest in real estate. My kids are in a much better position because I made a decision 11, 12 years ago to purchase properties in their names. I want the same exact thing for you. It has nothing to do with how much money you have. It has nothing to do with wealth. It has everything to do with discipline and making a decision. And the decision needs to be one that you guys all need to keep taking very, very seriously. We're helping you guys. We're setting you up. Look, if you don't believe me, come test this out. Talk to one of us. We've set it up. Partners Bank has committed. Mike Chambers, as well as Thomas Foley from Partners Bank, are amazing. They're personal friends of mine that I trust all of our assets with, all of our money with. They do an amazing job. Mike from Gold Coast Finance is going to walk you through this entire thing and make sure that you are treated fairly. The rates that you get are amazing. Our agents at John Hart are going to give you as much knowledge as you need and help you put these transactions together. But our mission is simple. Our mission is to spread the message to everyone that needs to hear it. So if you guys have friends that would like this presentation so they can give it to their friends and family, I'll take our name off. I'll take the John Hart label off of it. I'll white label the entire thing. You can put your name on it. You can put your name, your information, as long as you spread the word and you tell every single person that you have in your life about investing in real estate and stop investing in college funds, then I've done my job. It doesn't have to go through us. Couldn't care less.